We have a new Drivers' Championship leader after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. My name is Michał and here's another video from the world of Formula 1. Wow, I'm quite excited after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I was rooting for Oscar Piastri that he can actually beat Max Verstappen and claim the World Drivers' Championship leader position, because of course Oscar won the race and is now leading the championship. And of course the 5-second penalty that Max Verstappen got at the start of the Grand Prix played a big role in that win. But wow, it showed that he's there on top and he has all the qualities that the championship leader needs. Because of course he kept his head cool and delivered that corner, and even though Max Verstappen gained the position, then he got a penalty. And during the race, Oscar Piastri showed that he's actually a more complete driver in his third season than his more experienced teammate. Because if you look into this race, of course, at the start, he kept his head cool, he did what he had to do and actually forced the error from Max Verstappen, and then Max Verstappen got punished. And then during the race, of course, he kept the pace, kept his head cool. But look at his radio messages. He's driving the car and playing like a 5D chess at the same time. Like Lando was in front of him at the end of his first stint on hard tires. And when Oscar was like around 2 or 3 seconds apart from him, he was like sending the messages, oh, he's like creating dirty air for me, so to force the change so the Lando gets pitted and he has clean air in front of him and can get away from Max Verstappen. That's something that like championship material driver should do, and he did that. And eventually Lando pitted and he got away. So that was awesome. It seems that he actually on one hand can keep his head cool, and on the other he probably is surrounded by the team of people, and everyone is pointing towards Mark Webber, who's his manager, who are pointing him in the right direction. Probably his calm personality also play a huge role, but he's doing everything right, and he probably would be leading the championship much earlier if not for his Australian Grand Prix incident when he landed in the grass and lost a lot of positions. Because every race basically he's there, he's racing his teammate, and if he's not in front, he's fighting for the position. And like he did in Japan, for example, he was messaging the team saying that he has the pace, but of course McLaren did not want to risk anything and was happy to deliver the P2 and P3. But Oscar was there. Like, coming back to this Australian incident, Lando did the same mistake basically at the same corner, but it was less costly for him and he was able to recover the race. And according to like animations of like qualifying from that weekend, it was just up to the driver's style of driving at the end, because those animations from the qualifying like were demonstrating that Lando would initially brake much earlier before the corner, and Oscar would take corners at slightly higher speeds. And basically that's what happened, if I'm right. Yeah, Lando slowed down and he was carrying like less speed there, and Oscar higher speed, so he fell off the corner much stronger. But okay, but then like every race, Oscar basically makes no mistakes from that point on, and he delivers what he could at the time potentially. But also when he speaks to the press, like he's sniping those comments, like he's like on point and nipping at Lando Norris, like nipping at him and maybe making him overthink stuff, like because of course the drivers like are saying stuff about the cars, oh, we're not the fastest. Oscar Piastri is saying, okay, we have the strongest car, and if someone doesn't deliver, it's them. So of course it's like chipping away at the rivals' confidence all the time. No, maybe not all the times, but when stuff matters. And it's clear that Lando is struggling with the pressure, and of course he makes mistakes. Because from the start of the season, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like I saw a couple of times that he doesn't feel comfortable with the fact that he's supposedly predestined to win this year's championship. I saw it during the F1 event when they were presenting the cars, and like George Russell was like bantering with Lando and like saying, oh, like all the bookies are like pointing towards you to win the championship, and Lando was so uncomfortable there, like at least to me. And like every time, like okay, he's saying, oh, I'm not going to do stuff, and like he's overthinking. When he makes mistakes, he's again like maybe not overreacting, but he like blames himself a lot and maybe overthinking it again. So that takes away from his concentration during the race or sessions, and like it's like this mental pressure that he puts on himself that's additional to everything else. And of course it's a long season, so it's gonna add up. And of course F1 drivers are compared first to their teammates, and Piastri doesn't make that many mistakes and he delivers. Like he won second Grand Prix in a row now and he's leading the championship, so I bet it must be hard for Lando Norris. But at the end, you have to take the chances as they come, and Oscar is doing that. Lando doesn't necessarily do that, because Lando's fast and no one doubts it. He's just not that consistent, and he does unforced mistakes, like in China, for example, here now in Saudi Arabia. That cost him at the end, and he does amazing stuff in the race, even in Bahrain, like this amazing recovery to the podium. Then in China, again, amazing recovery. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, amazing recovery again to P4. But these things add up, and if the championship is close, then he's just losing his chances. So far, McLaren seem not to be able to like point towards one driver and say, okay, he's the chosen one this season and he's going for the championship. It might cost them at some point, but Oscar is playing his cards. He's taking his chances, so he does everything right. So at the end, he might go for the championship. And if they make mistakes, both of them, it can happen to both of them. They will lose points and someone else will collect the prize. Because Max Verstappen is very fast, very determined, and he's taking as much points as he can each race. Like, he won Japan, Bahrain was not that great for Red Bull, but he was back at it again. And if not for the penalty, he would win the race probably, because it was not so easy to overtake. Now Lando will have some time to recover after this triple header, so hopefully he can get his regain his confidence a bit and maybe focus, because it's clear that he's overthinking stuff. He's even saying that he doesn't want to do everything that other drivers are doing, like Max Verstappen fighting to very hard and like forcing the mistakes and like sometimes causing crashes, and he doesn't want to be ruthless. But at the end it costs him. And even though I really respect that he wants to be clean in the sport, other drivers would take the advantage out of him for that. And Oscar, of course, doesn't seem to be doing that, but like basically like he's playing this 5D chess at all times and he gains like small things, but at the end it will probably add up and he might have a great chance for the Drivers' Championship. And if he scores 1, then he might just go for more, and that might just like force the team to support him more, because then he will have a card, okay, I'm a Drivers' World Champion. Many teams would want me in their cars, and there I will be the number 1 driver. So like McLaren might need to actually do extra stuff to say that he's a number 1 driver, and then the games start and it might not be as great environment anymore. So yeah, I'm really happy for Oscar. Because from season to season, everyone could see how much he improves, and he seems like a very complete driver at the moment. Anything can happen from now on. The differences are still small. So, and the season is very long, up until December, if I'm correct. So it's going to be exciting on that side. But other teams also surprised during this Grand Prix. Let's talk Charles Leclerc. He scored P3, probably the highest score he was able to. It was executed perfectly on his side. He was a tire whisperer on his first stint on medium tires, and then he was sufficiently fast on the hard ones and delivered. Lando Norris was closing on him. He also had a very good first stint when he recovered a lot of positions. Of course, it helped that 2 drivers crashed, but he was racing, and at the end the strategy also worked, and he ended up P4. If there were more laps, it could have been P3, but it was a good recovery. But Leclerc definitely earned that podium. Ferrari seems not to be necessarily there. It was really surprising that they built a new car at the last year of the regulations, especially that their last year's car was working pretty well. They were like in contention for the Constructors' Championship, so that was surprising that they wanted to do that, and they paid the price for the past couple of races. Lewis Hamilton finished P7. He seems to be struggling, but he says that a lot of it is him. I bet it's like for most of his career. Basically, he drove Mercedes powered car, and the team was working for him. He was #1 driver there, of course. He has the habits. So probably he needs more races. He's scoring points. He won the sprint race in China, so he might surprise us a couple of times during the season. But yeah, Ferrari made a mistake, I think, at the end, that they went for the new car for this season. I hope it doesn't compromise their next season, because a lot of teams are basically already switching towards those regulations. Like at least Williams is declaring that, and I think it's good strategy if they are not competing for any of the championships. And it seems that it will be hard for Ferrari, so they should definitely go for next year already. Maybe slightly improve the car, but not focus too much. Red Bull definitely recovered for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix after disastrous Bahrain. It was surprising that there was a lot of drama during that race, and that the people were yelling at each other. There were there's those rumors about Max Verstappen's manager. so it's good that they recovered, because there were even supposedly demands that they might activate some clauses in the contract that he might leave the team if they are not providing him at least P3 car, basically. I don't know how much truth is in there, but it was insane after one bad race. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda scored Q3 qualifying. He was P8, but then he crashed, unfortunately. So there's definitely Red Bull made the good decision switching Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, but at the end it's still a big question for me that why they decided to go with Lawson in the first place. They played themselves at the end. Russell and Antonelli, P5 and P6. Mercedes definitely wasn't the strongest race for them. It's great to see that Antonelli is keeping up with Russell for the most of the race. Last week he was slightly off, but at the end, during this weekend, he was behind Russell, not by much at the end. That's awesome to see. They definitely made a great decision putting him in that car. I wonder when he will get the podium this season, because this weekend Russell was not able to sneak into the P3 or P2 as he's doing a lot this season. Yeah, the pace was not there. But it's good to see them recovering after a couple of years of falling off the pace. But man, Williams. I'm really rooting for Williams. I really like Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. And it was great to see them getting into the points, and Carlos Sainz getting into the points on the merit, not due to the disqualifications of multiple drivers as it happened in China. And it was such a great thing to see that they did his strategy from 2023 Singapore Grand Prix where he won, and he was doing these games with getting Lando, I think it was, behind him in the DRS, so the next driver would not pass them. And that's what they did this time. He kept Alex Albon behind him in the DRS range, so they both could avoid Isaac Hadjar on much fresher tires, so he wouldn't pass them. So that was great racing. That was a nice thing to see, that the Sainz seems to be starting to get along with the car, which is much different from the Ferrari, and adapting very fast. He out-qualified Ferrari, but during the race, the Williams was not as fast at the end. But still, both drivers got points. They are scoring points consistently. So far, mostly Albon, but I think it's going to change, because Sainz out-qualified Albon for the second time in a row, and he will be definitely putting a pressure on him from now on. Because Alex Albon was, of course, not having the strongest of partners for years now, and of course it was hard to assess how fast he is. So far in this season, obviously he's there and squeezing out of the car as much as he can. He's scoring points a lot. But if Carlos Sainz starts gelling with the car, basically, we will see how fast they both are compared to each other. But yeah, definitely it was awesome to see smooth operator in action again. And the last car in the points was, of course, Racing Bull's car of Isaac Hadjar. He's definitely putting a good showing this season. The unlucky Australian Grand Prix, he's scoring points and he's qualifying, putting solid results. He outscored his teammate Liam Lawson, who seems to be this season Esteban Ocon, but maybe he's getting all these penalties and maybe it's justified at the end. But he again got a 10 seconds penalty for leaving the track and gaining the advantage. And even though he finished just behind Isaac Hadjar in P11, he got dropped to P12 because of the penalty. Yeah, unlucky. It seems that he's slowly regaining the confidence. Yeah, let's see how it goes for the rest of the season. It might be very unlucky for the Racing Bulls at the end that they missed the points during the previous races due to bad strategy, and because the car is not so strong anymore, it seems, after the other teams put some adjustments to theirs. Missed chances at the end lose you points in F1. Unlucky for Haas that this was the first race in a while that they didn't score any points. They were not that fast in the qualifying, they regained some positions at the end, but yeah, way outside of the points. Alonso P11, unlucky again for him, no points for Aston Martin. They seem to struggle a lot, and after Lance Stroll got his record after the qualifying, it doesn't seem that great and that promising for this season. Hopefully the money invested in the team will start paying off in the next season at least, because yeah, this is not the greatest car in such a close competition. Yeah, because of course if you missed that, Lance Stroll is now leading the leaderboard in the most Q1 eliminations, but he's defending himself that he was racing bad cars. Yeah, he said basically that if you put McLaren's drivers in his car, they would do the same, but I don't think his cars were that bad for the most of his career, so it doesn't look that great for him at the end. Because I think he drove for Williams for one season that was really bad, but otherwise it was definitely not the slowest car for the remaining seasons that he raced in F1, and he's there a long time. Oh man, but that Sauber, I don't know, it looks so bad. I hope the Audi doesn't drop them, because yeah, like Nico Hülkenberg dropped Haas and at the end switched to the slower car, which doesn't look that great. They are losing a lot of pace. They might be the slowest car on the grid at the moment. But it was, yeah, there was like this one incident, of course, if you probably didn't miss it, that Bortoleto almost crashed Fernando Alonso, who is in his management team. So there was some action with Sauber. I hope they can recover next season, because this one, it doesn't look that promising, and it would be probably not worth it to invest more money into this year's car as it is so slow. Both drivers, they are of course good drivers, and Bortoleto is a current F2 champion, so it's not the drivers, it's the car, unfortunately, in that regard. So that's that for this video. Next race is Miami, but until then I will probably release a couple more videos. So I hope you return for that. And if you liked this video and would like to watch a couple more, please subscribe. I greatly appreciate every subscriber and every comment, so I'm always happy for those and to answer those. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Michał, that was fast, and see you in the next one.